Ah. Well, hello, Facebook world and LinkedIn unicorns. Popping up today to introduce somebody who's recently come into my life, and I'm extremely grateful they have. Jeff Rogut from the Frankston Business Collective, as CEO, is rebuilding Frankston, especially with the businesses in and around Frankston. And I'm so grateful to have him as part of my journey in life. So, g'day, Jeff. How are you today?
Hey, Scott. Good to see you. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, I'm so grateful to have you. Like I'm, our relationship started in quite an interesting way, where we had the opportunity to have a coffee, introduced by Marg Lang, and I really enjoyed the coffee. I really enjoyed sitting, and I don't drink coffee, but it was good to just sit and have a yarn and learn a little bit about each other, because I think that's something these days we don't do enough of, is actually take the time to get to know one another.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it was an interesting interaction where I learned a little bit about you. But rather than me share that journey with everybody, I'd love it if you could share with us a little bit about your journey till now, because you've had an interesting journey, and I'd love to learn a little bit about how you went from being in South Africa to becoming the CEO of the Frankston Business Collective, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. And thank you again for the opportunity. Look, I was incredibly fortunate in the late 70s to respond to an ad that the Meyer Group actually had put out when I was living in South Africa, just started my retail career, where they were looking for people to come to Australia as retail buyers. I applied for that. My wife and I, also again newly married, were determined to leave and seek greener pastures, and that was an enormous opportunity. I was fortunate enough to get one of the positions, and we came out, and I joined the Meyer Group actually as a buyer for Target, living in Geelong. That opened up so many doors for me. People that I'd met back then, our next door neighbour, we are actually still friendly with some, 40 something years later. So there are some terrific people around. And as you rightly say, it's all about the people. I worked with Target for a number of years. We then moved to Melbourne. I kept my career sort of in retail, worked with a number of large retailers. In the sort of more recent history, I spent some time working at Monash Uni, heading up the Centre for Retail Studies. My wife and I took on a 7-Eleven store in our local neighbourhood as a franchise. And a few years later, I actually joined 7-Eleven corporately, heading up their merchandise and marketing. I worked with Shell for a number of years, terrific company, really very passionate company about their people. I then, after 7-Eleven and doing some work with companies like Foodworks, was again fortunate enough to get the opportunity to take on the CEO role for the Australasian Association of Convenience Stores. There's about 7,000 convenience stores nationally. These are the major groups, 7-Eleven, BP, Caltex, and many of the independents as well as the suppliers to the industry. So if you add up all of the merchandise sales and petrol sales, that industry is worth about $35 billion a year. So it's a very big industry, a very important industry to Australia. In fact, if we look at what happened over COVID, they were one of the, dare I say it, almost the lifebloods for many communities where they kept open. They were able to serve their communities. So certainly a terrific industry, and again, terrific people. I then, after 10 years in that role, decided, small business was always my passion, helping a number of small businesses, to take on a business coaching role. And I did that, interestingly, at the depths of COVID, when people were interested in having some good conversations, but really very difficult to do business. And it just transpired then that the Frankston City Council was looking for somebody to establish what was then called the new Frankston Business Chamber, Business and Industry Chamber. So again, I saw myself being able to take on that role and add a lot of value, because it was really very similar to the previous role that I'd been doing, and felt that I could do it with, dare I say, minimal disruption. We could get into it. We could get some results on the board fairly quickly. So it's actually 12 months ago, October of last year, that I joined the council with the express task of establishing what was then the business chamber. We did some interesting research. We had a number of stakeholder groups as well as online research, and it became very clear that the word chamber tended to bring up connotations of, old men sitting in leather armchairs, drinking port and smoking cigars, which actually was quite fun when we did that. But we realized that we needed to appeal to younger business people, both in age and experience, to be more progressive and more in tune with the times. So we appointed a branding agency, came up with numerous names, and eventually the name that we settled on, that our stakeholders overwhelmingly voted on, and that the council certainly accepted as well, was the Frankston Business Collective. And if you look at our branding, if you look at our colours, if you look at the name, it is a very warm, collaborative, inviting environment. It is genuine, it is down to earth, and it is there to really be there with and for the local businesses. So that's really our journey in a nutshell. It really is to work with the businesses in Frankston. If you look at what our vision is, and it's a very, fairly big vision, it's really to realise the full potential of businesses in the Frankston area, really to drive a new era, and yet that's pretty ambitious, of innovation, development, growth, productivity, importantly employment and profitability for the business owners. So that's where we find ourselves today. We officially launched the end of July, and as at the end of last week, we have about 110 businesses that have already joined us as members. So it's been a really interesting journey in a fairly short space of time. As you rightly say, I really valued our connection. The first time we met down at Common Folk on the Nepean Highway, my office away from the office, and just the interaction, just the things that occurred during that meeting really were an eye-opener for me. So I thank you for your time and the work that you do around Frankston.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jeff. Well, I'm a very, very passionate Frankston man, and I think it's one of the best unkept secrets in Victoria, because just there's so much going on there. But I truly believe that with a little bit of effort and a little bit of kindness and a little bit of care, we can make a significant difference in Frankston.
Yeah.
So the Frankston Business Collective, like I want to say thank you to you. I want to say thank you to you for giving me the opportunity to speak at the Wellness Summit. It's gifted me the opportunity to connect with a lot of people, connect with a lot of hearts, and to open up some opportunities that wouldn't have been there if the Frankston Business Collective wasn't there. So I think it's a great initiative, and I encourage more businesses in and around Frankston and the Frankston area to get involved, because these summits, like, let's talk about the summits for a minute, if that's okay, Jeff. Like, how are you going with your summits in your eyes?
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. So we realised fairly quickly, well, not fairly quickly, it's been evident for some time, that business owners, particularly small business owners, were struggling in the aftermath of COVID, particularly the draconian lockdowns, that are now proving to have been totally unnecessary, but they really impacted business owners and businesses enormously. So the first major event that we held back in August was a wellbeing summit. And it really was designed to focus on ways that business owners and even ordinary people could focus on their own well-being. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The opportunity there to have you genuinely talk about what it is you do, the challenges, I think really brought a tear to many people's eyes because of the journey that you've been on and the genuine way in which you expressed that. And I think you would have noticed on the day that there was a lot of emotion in the room because people were trying to connect and really did connect on a different level than they would on a day-to-day basis. So I think one of our cornerstones, dare I say it, going forward will be well-being in some shape or form. There are many business chambers around there, and many focus on, the usual things that business chambers do. But for me, whilst we'll still do that, we'll do awards programs and all of those things, the well-being of the operators and their people and their communities, I think, is a critical pillar in everything we do. If I talk about well-being for a minute, I'd encourage your viewers and your listeners to have a look at a website from the Wellbeing Lab. They run some terrific well-being programs, and I was fortunate enough to do one of their programs before we did the summit, which was sponsored by the Victorian government. And through that, I achieved a certificate in creating well-being for small businesses. But if they go on to the Wellbeing Labs website, they can do their own survey. It's called the PERMA survey, PERMAH. And they will get their self-assessment, they will get their results back fairly quickly. And that'll tell them where they are in a number of areas for their well-being. So for example, P for PERMA stands for positive emotions, E for engagement, R for relationships, M for meaning, which is just so critical in today's lives, A for accomplishment, and H for health. And I'd really encourage people to do that. There's no cost, no charge, and I think they'll get an enormous amount of value just out of doing that, 10 or 15-minute survey. That forms the basis for so much work that can be done within businesses. And certainly I am available and happy to assist any of the businesses in running any of those programs with and for them, given that I've been through it and you've seen some of the benefits that it can do. So certainly that was the first summit, which was, I'm still getting really positive feedback some 3 months later or 2 months later, people saying, when are you doing the next one? And we'll certainly look at that early next year. The other initiative that I knew from talking to a number of people in Frankston that was really well regarded from the old business chamber was the Frankston Women in Business. Having an opportunity for the Frankston business women to get together, network. Certainly guys are welcome as well. And we had our first event beginning of October, and we had 50 local women in business with some guest speakers as well, which was really well attended. People like Amanda Kate, who is really well known in the area. She was one of our speakers, and Kelly Jones. Yeah, that's the book. And Kelly Jones, who's an expert, and I don't use that word lightly, in digital marketing and marketing generally. And we'll be looking at doing our next one of those in Feb of next year. And then, as you know, last week we had our first Frankston Business Summit, where again, it was not a late, but it was fairly late, I guess, in terms of organising it. But it came together incredibly well. We had 93 people that registered. I think probably 90 odd people on the day at the McClelland Gallery and Sculpture Park. And again, a terrific array of speakers, all willing to share their experience and knowledge for the benefit of others in the room. So those are the sorts of things that we'll continue to do. Our next networking event, and we hold them at least monthly, will be at Dainton Brewery at Carrum Downs on the 23rd of November. So certainly invite any of your viewers and any of your contacts to join us there as well. Just register on our website. The other thing which we launched last week was the Frankston Business Excellence Awards, and we'll be running these through 2023. A really good opportunity for businesses to do some self-reflection, to look at their businesses, to look at how they're unique, how they serve their customers, what they do in terms of innovation, and become one of our finalists. We'll culminate that with some form of business expo towards the third quarter of 2023. And we'll do a finals awards, either over lunch or dinner. Still working on the logistics of that. So as you can hear, an enormous amount happening, all designed to instill some positivity and really just bring something new to the Frankston business community.
Yeah, well, I absolutely adore it. The quality of the speakers you've had so far have been absolutely outstanding. For the two events that I've been to, just want to go back to the one you had at McClellan
Yeah,
Gallery. What an amazing lineup! Like, it wasn't just people coming up and sharing their stories about work. They were people sharing their life journeys. Like David was phenomenal.
yeah,
And
David
sharing his
was,
journey from being a bobby in London through to, working in Hong Kong, then in doing security. Like, it was just phenomenal.
yeah,
Gavin Waring was also phenomenal. Just sharing the full story, how he was a chef, getting to know people properly. Like, I feel like it's a bit of at the collective, you sort of take your coat off and you relax and you actually get to see people and hear who they are, because I think it's so important in business. So I want to really encourage people to get along to these summits, because they're just phenomenal. How do you feel seeing people share their hearts at these events? Because that even Craig James, like, he is quite a funny guy. You
yeah,
see
yeah.
him on TV, and he's
Yeah, he's a
very
very dry economist. Yeah,
yes, but he's
yeah,
actually quite a cracking bloke.
yeah.
To see
Look,
people,
and I think
with
that's part of it. I think, Scott, is people are prepared to take off their coats and share, almost bare their souls in some cases, because of the environment and what we try to construct. I mean, we had, as you say, Craig, David, Gavin, Mal Glang, who
yeah,
is a terrific, a really uplifting sort of individual. She was terrific on the day. Then you've got people like Prue Peachy, again, a local person, senior marketing manager for the Coringal Hub. And a lot of people had local connections. Even our sponsor, Daniel from ScotPack, transpires that he and his family are Frankston based, or were Frankston based. So there's just so much heritage in the area that we can tap into. Frankston has become, not that it never was, but it's gone through different perceptions. I was only reading this morning, one of the homes at the bottom of Oliver's Hill sold on the weekend for $11 million.
yeah, wow.
It just shows that people are gravitating towards the area. Now, of course, like every area, there are areas of disadvantage. There are people that are not, as fortunate as others. And I guess that's where we come in with the business community, to try and assist those people and assist people such as yourselves. There was an event that Neighbourhood Watch held a few weeks back that you and I sort of both attended. And again, that's another opportunity for the business community to come together, to deter crime and to make Frankston, or get rid of the perceptions that some people have and had of the Frankston area. Yes, there's work to be done in that area, but I think we will succeed.
Yeah, and I want to grab that, actually, the neighborhood watch meeting. I thought that was phenomenal. Like, clearly, Neighborhood Watch has changed its identity. It's done a lot of work to do things very differently from the old neighbor peeking out of the
Yeah,
curtain going, "I'm spying on you." It's a very different playground now. And
yeah,
the thing I took away, which I really want to, Andrew from the council, what's his second? Anyway, I was absolutely gobsmacked with the way they're dealing with people sleeping rough now.
yeah,
Unfortunately, due to the current economic climate and the pressure on people these days, things aren't going quite to plan. Sometimes things end up, lack of better words, let's just say that people have been sleeping in their cars lately a lot down on the foreshore in Frankston.
yeah,
Now, for some people, that's a little bit daunting, and I can understand that if you haven't experienced it and you haven't been around people that have got no other choice. But what Frankston Council is doing with these guys and girls, they're giving them 7 days, and they're putting services in place to support these people, try and find them some housing, rather than just going down there and kicking them out,
yeah,
getting rid of them. They're actually putting in support. And for me, What a great way to look at things. What a great initiative to say, do you know what? Maybe now we need to do things a little bit differently. Maybe now we need to do a little bit more care about our people. And I think for me, that was one of the most heartwarming things, that change is happening.
Yeah.
We're
Look, I
caring
think
about
that's a
our
valid,
people.
that's a very valid point, Scott. And we have to, and I haven't ignored them. I was going to, talk about this towards the end, but
Yep.
the Frankston Council is an incredibly passionate group of people caring about the community. They're not only capable, they're very, very compassionate as well. They're very involved in the community. And as you know, from the summit last week, we had the mayor, the deputy mayor, and one of the councillors there. So they are vitally interested in what's happening within Frankston, and are prepared to support all of the initiatives in the area as well. So councils often get a bad rap, and in some cases for good reason. But I have to say, working for the first time with a council so closely, I've been enormously impressed by the calibre of people and the passion that they have for the area. And that's something that shouldn't be lost on people. Yeah. They can't solve everything all the time. Yeah, responsibility and freedom does come with choices that people make. But the council certainly is there in a very, very supportive role.
Yeah. And look, I want to grab that because I've got quite a few people in and around Frankston, and Little Ollie's was an issue, a big issue, big community issue, because
Yeah,
Little Ollie's built a community around their coffee van. And for whatever reason, they didn't get their permit renewed. And I haven't dived into it too much. The community got around them, and the council looked at it, and they sat down and they came up with a better opportunity for all.
yeah,
Which for me, I think it's important that it's okay to get things wrong, right? Because that means if you do, and then you step into it and go, okay, so this is what we got. We've made a mistake here. That's okay. How are we going to make it better because of this? What can we
yeah,
learn from this situation so that we can make it better? So even with the mistake that was made, they've actually ended up coming away with a better opportunity for all of the locals inside that car park, because
yeah,
there's a problem's not the problem. It's how we respond to the problem that either causes the pain, the lesson, or the opportunity. And if we take that, we've had enough pain in our life and around Frankston, I reckon. I think there's a lot of lessons that we've learned, and I'm really seeing some big opportunities coming forward.
no,
We're trying
absolutely
to,
right. And
yeah,
if you look at our pillars, I mean, one of our pillars is advocacy, second
yeah,
is connection, and the third is education. And
yeah,
part of our role, I mean, we're not involved in the Ollie's decisions or anything at all.
no,
We're at arm's length. But
yeah,
going forward, I mean, that's where small businesses can call on us to advocate for them,
yeah.
to council, to state government, to federal government, and that's part of our role, very much so. So again, that's another part of the reason for our existence. So those sorts of businesses where they're confronted with those issues, they are very, very welcome to contact me and any of our board members, and we can support and assist them if there is a genuine case.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think that's a really important thing, right? Because so often you've got a business and you're so busy doing the business, you don't pick up every little thing all the
Yeah,
time because you're so busy in it. To have a group of business owners in your corner to be able to support you in moments like that, I think it's really important. Like I know, I just to go back a little bit. So my employment is I support builders around Australia. That's how I earn money and I put food on the table. Our community is so strong. Later on, I'll be doing an interview with Andrea Marshall, who lives in Shepparton. She's one of our builders.
right.
And we'll be getting around her. The whole community will be purchasing stocks, and I'll be going up to Shepparton to support them in a time of need. That's the power of a community.
Yeah.
Power of a community. We support each other in a time of need, and that's for me something that I absolutely love about the Frankston Business Collective, because I know myself the support I've gotten already in a couple of months has just been wonderful.
Yeah, it's
I'm going to go.
collaborative. It's collaborative. It's not competitive. Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't look at. It's competition is healthy, right? Collaboration creates the extraordinary.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
That's when 1+1 = 3. Competition's 1+1 against each other, and normally
Yeah.
ends up less than 2. Whereas 1+1, creating 3, creating that new opportunity is something that, like in the business of smiles, that's what we talk about all the time. We don't partner with anybody unless it's a 1+1 = 3 opportunity where we take our magic, we take a company's magic. How can we make both of us stronger and better because of that? Because if we take that opportunity, I just love growth, and that's how I feel about Frankston. Like, one of the things that was fantastic to hear. I can't remember his name, from the Monash University that came out and spoke.
Professor Lionel Frost. Yes.
Professor Lionel Frost. He was phenomenal, and I enjoyed listening to how Geelong has rebuilt itself.
Yeah.
How Geelong has really created this absolute destination, an hour's drive from the city. Frankston's an hour's drive from the city.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what we do with Frankston, because that all came about because of a collective. They worked together. They got all the local businesses together. They built a community, and they networked, and they just did this amazing come on, brain. Foreshore. There it is. The amazing foreshore.
And look, they had some really tough times with the closure of the Ford factory, the glass factory. There was a lot of industry that left and a lot of unemployment. So they were forced into doing something, and they've come up with a terrific solution. Yeah.
And I think we're a little bit forced into doing this in Frankston too. Like, it's unfortunately, there's been a lot of shop owners leave. There's been a lot of businesses leave Frankston, and I'm really looking forward to them coming back. Maybe not necessarily back.
What the deputy mayor said, there's a lot of new businesses looking at investing in Frankston. There is the big Lona Hotel on the Nepean Highway. Betty's Burgers has just opened. And there's a few others that I know are under negotiation, with some major groups coming back. So, the opportunity certainly is there. Even Vicinity Centre, with Myer closing, that gives them the opportunity to do other things and attract new people to Frankston as well. So, there certainly are opportunities. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Like, even with Myer, like, although Myer's, an iconic brand, does it actually suit life going forward? Because it's been the same shop for a long time. I think, and this is the thing for me that excites me, if you like, is what can we do? Right now, we've got a bit of a blank canvas. We've got the opportunity to do something extraordinary. So why not have a crack? Because we're worth it, yeah? So, but I do want to grab one other thing, the wellness side of things, well-being parts of the business collective. I love it, because one of the big things we do inside the tool shed is, you can actually literally see behind me the pictures. They're builders future pacing themselves, seeing what they want to look like, seeing who they want to be with, what feelings do they want to feel in 12 months' time. Builders are talking about this.
Yeah.
We're talking about their well-being, because at the end of the day, your business is only as good as you are. If you're not strong, then unfortunately those around you won't be either. So you've got to be taking care of yourself. So I love the fact that the Frankston Business Collective is actually doing that.
Yeah.
So
the other thing, very similar, Scott. You can't see it behind me. On my wall, I've got this chart, which again is done by the Wellbeing Lab, and it's tiny ways to care for your well-being, and it's just little nudges that you can do that just remind you that life is more than just your work and whatever else it is. So we're definitely on the same wavelength in terms of our thinking, which is really positive.
Yeah, I love it. Like, it's interesting that you have that there, because literally around me everywhere. Oh, I'll take it off. Your input determines your output. So I've got Never
Yeah,
regret a day in your life. Good days give you happiness. Bad days give you experiences. Worst days give you lessons, and the best days give you memories. You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
I surround myself in them because
Yeah,
was it? Oh, Rocky, nothing's going to beat you as hard as life. but it's it's how you get up, which
yeah.
is exactly as I see Frankston. So, talking about future pacing, Jeff. 12 months from now, what do you want to see happening with the business collective?
Look, in 12 months' time, Scott, we should have our membership up around, ideally around the 300, which is a terrific base. I mean, there's 20 something thousand businesses in the Frankston area.
Yeah,
Not
wow.
all of them, obviously, will choose to join us or be suitable to join us for one reason or another. But a core of 300 to 400 businesses would be terrific. This time next year, we probably will have just had our awards dinner or celebration for the Frankston Business Awards. We would have had networking evenings every month from February onwards, and we would have had a number of business summits during the year. And we'll move away from the word summit. It sounds intimidating, but certainly the Frankston Women in Business, well-being, and just business ideas and education that we can bring to people. We are looking at programs, and these may be sort of breakfast programs, particularly for tradies that I know have difficulty getting out during the day. Maybe it's a 7 o'clock breakfast somewhere in Frankston. We get somebody coming in to talk about business financials or how to market your business or HR issues. So we have a series of those being planned at the moment as well. So there's a lot on the go that will come to fruition early in the new year. So a very, very full program. And again, the council has been terrifically supportive in anything we do. The business community is very supportive. We have some major sponsors, our strategic partners, such as the council, Monash Uni, Ashford's, Commonwealth Bank, and a new construction and real estate company, GA Industrial and Commercial, has just come on as another strategic partner. So these are businesses that are prepared to invest more than the average member to make sure that we have a solid base and can do things. So we're extremely grateful for all of their support, and we'll give back to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the key to this, because it is about giving back to our community, because we all live in it. Like at the moment, I'm on a mission in Frankston. I've got my 12 days of Christmas, where I'm going to be walking the streets, talking to people, having conversations. I've got people coming from around Australia to come and give me a hand. I've got local people who are also passionate about Frankston coming to walk the streets with me. And we're going to connect our community. We're going to connect them with a passion and a pair of socks. Like it's interesting, because like you think a pair of socks, right? What's a pair of socks? And the reality is, it's our foundations that we're supporting.
Yeah.
They're not socks by accident. Our feet are our foundations to the way in which we walk through life.
Yeah, it's a
So I
terrific
chose
way of looking
socks.
at it.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason why I chose socks.
Yeah.
For that very reason, and if we can support the foundations of people and give them the opportunity to be seen and heard and let them know that we care.
Yeah.
Oh. My life's been an interesting life, Jeff. You've heard a little bit about it. And certain times in my life, there's been people that have cared, that have given me the opportunity to be me. Maybe I'm saving myself. Maybe I am. But I really care about Frankston, and I really care about the people in it. And every time people see these socks, they know where they came from. They know that somebody in that moment cared about them.
Yeah.
And they have something to take home. And I love it. And I love being part of the Frankston Business Collective, because I know they care about Frankston.
Yeah. Look, we
just
certainly value what it is you do. And I think I know we're harping back on it, but the first time that we caught up with the a couple of people on the tables alongside us. We spoke to them and handed 3 of them pairs of socks, or 4 of them. Just the smiles and the difference in the attitude from what were very almost intense and emotional conversations that we could see happening. It just changed their mood and changed their outlook. And to me, I think that was an enormous eye-opener. Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because when we give somebody just that little bit of time and we ask them how they are and thank them for doing their best, it makes such a difference and gives them the opportunity to actually talk more than just the day-to-day how's the weather. Like from what we heard from both tables was extraordinary, wasn't it?
Yeah. No,
And that young fella going into the movies with his mate, Indigenous fella. He touched my heart, So it's gold.
No, it's terrific. No, it's good work. It's good work.
So, all right. Well, I've got a couple of questions for you. I'm going to put you on the spot really heavily. If you had 3 people that you could invite to dinner, living or dead, who would they be?
3 people. Wow, that is a question, Scott, without notice. Probably one of them would probably be somebody like Weary Dunlop. I have an interest in sort of military past, and I really, have always been struck from the time I arrived in the country, having read and heard about him, of his exploits and the way he cared for his men at a very difficult time. So he would certainly be one of them. The second person, I guess, on a slightly different level, is somebody like Bob Dylan, who's shared my journey with me over, almost 60 years since he's been around. I mean, he's just been an incredible poet, not a visionary, but certainly a poet that's achieved a lot and is an icon. The third person, I guess if we go back in history, probably somebody like Nostradamus, who, again, to some degree was a visionary. He's discredited in some circles, but whether what he has said or not, at least he was prepared to have a go and not be cancelled for saying what he said. Because today our freedoms are under threat by so many people, so many interest groups, that people are almost afraid to talk about their genuine beliefs and who they genuinely are. And I think that's something, just as you're trying to change lives and communities, I think we need to change society so that people are not cancelled for having views that they strongly believe in. People can go to a forum and talk about what they believe in without being shouted down or having protests or my view is right and yours is wrong sort of thing. We've really lost that. And I think certainly in a country like Australia, which has been such an egalitarian society, such a fair society, I think we're on the brink of something very dangerous where things are becoming far more divisive than they need to be. We are becoming tribes and we are disuniting more than uniting. So I really do have some fears for the future, certainly for my grandkids as we look to the future. So, you've got to be able to stand up, talk about what you believe in, whether your future vision is right or wrong, but you've got to be able to be prepared to put that forward.
I want to thank you for saying that, but I want to honor that by sharing with you a real quick story. I was in a networking meeting no more than a month ago, and a gentleman was talking. He started talking about his faith, and he started put his head down, and I'm like, mate, seriously, can you please stand up tall?
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you for having a purpose beyond yourself. I'm really proud of you for believing in something. Please don't ever scour to that.
Yeah.
I said, because that's your story and it gives you purpose. Please stand strong with that. And I think that's the difference in where we're heading. We're no longer proud of the fact that we believe in something.
Yeah.
And I think that to me scares me too, because it's about how you project how you project it, because so often people are needing to be seen and haven't dealt with their pain, so they project their pain rather than taking the time of explaining and understanding it. And that for me is, yeah, I'm going to do a conversation on that in the very near future, because I feel
Definitely
that's something
worthwhile.
that we need
Yeah,
to talk more about, because
absolutely. Yeah.
there's acceptance is key to everything. But in order to understand something, you need to listen, but you only fear things you don't understand. Once you understand it and you accept it, and it's, yeah, there's funny you say this. Tomorrow I'm going to see Fear with Bill Bennett.
Okay.
Bill Bennett has actually got the documentary which we're hosting on the 24th of November in Frankston.
Yep. I look forward to seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant. It gave me the opportunity to be me, and I'm very grateful for that. But hey, Auntie Shaz, how are you? Auntie Shaz, how's the weather down there? Actually, I've got to go a bit sideways here, actually, if that's okay, Jeff, because Auntie Shaz has popped up. How's the weather down there? Okay, how are you both? Now, if we don't answer this, Auntie Shaz will actually get stuck into me. She's up there in Queensland. She's got the emoji crew. How are you, Jeff?
Yeah, really good. I'm always well. Yeah.
Yeah. You are, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, life's too short not to be. When you think of the alternative, you've got to be positive and you've got to be well. Yeah. Everybody, as you say, has a story, but no, things could always be a lot worse. Yeah.
100%. And thank you for that, Jeff, because I'm scared if I don't actually. And Auntie shows I'm actually awesome. The chicken wings coming back, so we're good. So I just go, and it's and the reason why that's so important to me, Jeff, is because Auntie shows is involved. Sharon Chamello is involved in a lot of my communities,
Okay,
and
great.
we often talk about whether or not people are actually okay, and whether or not they talk about it authentically.
Yeah.
So that's important to me and important to her that we actually ask that question. So, yeah. Listen, I'm so grateful for today. I hope you've enjoyed a bit of a chinwag. I've enjoyed learning a little bit more about you.
Yeah, likewise, Scott. Always pleased to talk with you. I always come away somewhat uplifted, which is terrific in nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Well, look, I really look forward to enjoying the journey with the Frankston Business Collective. I look forward to creating more smiles and creating more collaboration, because I know the strength in that, and I'm so grateful that you do that. So thank you so much, Jeff, for spending time with us.
My pleasure, Scott. Thank you so much, and see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, take care, people. I will be popping up later on this afternoon, 4 p.m. Now, Andrea Marshall's up there in Shepparton, and they're doing it a bit tough. So we're needing to have a look at how we can support them. Andrea and I have been working in and around the business to Smiles for quite some time. We went up there in January this year, and we made an impact then. But unfortunately, we're going to be going back there for a different scenario, very much like we did in Lismore and Mullumbimby. So we're going to need to get behind that so we can get up there and create some hope. So take care. Have an amazing day, everybody. And thank you, Jeff. And we'll see you all soon.
Pleasure, Scott. See you again. Thank you all.
Okay,
Thanks.
take care.
Bye.
Now, where's that bloody button? Hang on a sec.